Hello. How are you doing today? Hope you're doing really good. I'm really tired. I went back to work today from, holiday vacation, and I'm ready for a nap. I'm ready for a nap. Stephanie's here. Hello, Stephanie. It's good to see you. Normally, or in the past, I have made PowerPoints for these workshops. But today I was going to make a PowerPoint, and then, well, not today, leading up to today, I was going to make a PowerPoint, but there's so much to cover. I didn't think that a PowerPoint would actually be the right thing to do, because there's so many different intricacies and different things that you have to think about. And there's some people that might be working on their writing schedule, and some people that might be working on their release schedule, and that is something that's totally different, possibly. So we have some different things we're going to talk about. There is a release timeline little sheet for you. It's not very pretty. I know Sarah Cannon, when she does things like this, she has really, really pretty things, papers to give you, but mine is very practical. Let's say it's a release timeline for you to fill out if you would like to later. So what I was thinking, how we would kind of go with this would be whatever you would like to get out of this workshop. I was going to put it all together, have a writing section and the release section all together. This is planning your 2021 schedule, whether it be writing schedule, whether it be release schedule, or you can use this to go ahead and plan your 2022 schedule or even your 2023 schedule. Some people are even going that far out. You kind of have to do that when you want to book certain people or certain editors. And we'll get all into that when we talk about things that you need to do and things you need to think about. So let's see who is here. Hello, Wendy. I'm glad you're here. And Stephanie's tired, first day back to school for the kiddos. Mine go back tomorrow. Well, they don't go back in person tomorrow. And then Wednesday's virtual. Tomorrow's virtual, Wednesday's virtual, and then 2 of mine go back Thursday, and then the other one goes back Friday. I go every day. I go every day. I'm a teacher. If you don't know, if you just stumbled across this and you wanted to, and you thought the topic was interesting and you wanted to see how to make a release schedule or how to make a writing schedule, hello, my name is Kelly Martin. I'm a traditionally and independently published author of over 30 books. I write paranormal and ghost stories and horror under Kelly Martin, which is my real name. And then I write sweet romance under Marty K. I've written 4 of those, I think, and I have 3 planned. No, I don't. I have 4 Marty K books planned for 2021, and I have 3 Kelly Martin books planned for 2021. So I've been publishing since 2012. My very first book came out in 2012 from a traditional publisher, a small press, and I wrote it in 2011 during NaNoWriMo. And then after that, it's just kind of kept going. It has built into a very cool thing that I really, really enjoy doing. So Stephanie says it's all virtual here. We are not. We've been at least hybrid since school started in August. We went hybrid in August, and then we started everybody full in September. And then after Thanksgiving, I think, maybe a little bit before we went hybrid again, except for my class. That's another story. Another story. Anyway, so what we're going to talk about is things to consider when you make your production schedule or your writing schedule or your schedule, your release schedule. I have both going at the same time. If you need a calendar, that would be a perfect thing to have. I have different calendars laying around. Actually, I can show you this one. This is my goals planner, and I have my, I don't have it in, yes I do. I have, I'll show you this. I have my release schedule. There we go. On this calendar. So if you want to get a yearly calendar or a 2 years out calendar, or I have even used 5-year planners, I do terrible with that. I don't do good with 5-year plans or 5-year calendars because I get kind of burned out, or I get different ideas that I want to have. So, hello, it's good to see you. My goal is to have at least 3 hours of writing a day. I have to cut out some other hobbies, but I've been spreading myself too thin as it is. Wow, 3 hours of writing a day. We'll actually get into that. That is really cool. That is a lot. Wow. Okay, so Stephanie has an idea of when I want my books to release. It's the writing that I need to schedule out. Good. Okay. Well, you can go with the date and work backwards, or we can do different scenarios for that. Okay, let's talk about your writing schedule. If you don't have a draft finished and you're still working on a draft and you want to get the first draft finished, it's only for the first draft. These are some things to consider for your production schedule. This is kind of goes with Stephanie. Stephanie has a deadline. She knows when she wants it to come out, or about when she wants it to come out. So she needs to figure out how to get the writing scheduled out. One of the best ways you can do that is to figure out how many words you can write in a certain length of time. I have written for a while, and I decided, actually, I didn't decide this. If you've ever seen the Courtney Project, she does this whenever she does sprints. She has a little notebook, and she writes how long the sprint was. How long the sprint was, how many words she got. And I started doing that too, and it's one of my favorite notebooks that I have. And I have data all the way back to, I started doing this in May. So I have all this from May. And when I go back and look, I know that I can write 500 words in 15 minutes. So since I know I can write 500 words in 15 minutes, I can write 2,000 words in an hour. So since I know I can write 2,000 words in an hour, roughly, I mean, give or take, like, let's say the last time I wrote, I did 4 sprints, 4 15-minute sprints. I wrote 639, 394, 500, and 746. So it rounds to somewhere around 2,000. So I know that if I can give at least an hour a day, I can't sit down and I used to. Some days I can't. I'm having trouble lately sitting down and just writing words out and getting 2,000 words in one sitting, or getting to sit down for 3 hours or a certain length of time. So I bought, it's up there, I have a 15-minute hourglass, and I put it on my desk, and I can turn it over. And then that's all I have to focus on is that 15 minutes. And then when that's up, I put the number down on this, and I go do whatever else I need. If I need to put a low clothes wash machine, I can do that. If I need to wash some dishes, I can do that. If I'm just tired and my eyes need a break, I can go do that. Anything I want to do, I can do it. But I try to make those for 15 minutes at least in one day. So that's one way you can do it. You can figure out how much time, your average word count uninterrupted, because I know how hard that is. And then that will help you figure out how long it takes you to write. I have a book that I have to have done by Sunday. It's a Marty K novella. It's 30,000 words. All those books are 30,000 words. I'm at 17,675 right now. So let me get my calculator up. If I need it to be 30,000 words, and let's say I'm at 18,000, we'll round, then I have 12,000 more words I need to write. I have to have it turned in by Sunday. So we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So that's 7 days. Yep. Divided by 7. So I need to write at least 1,700 words a day to hit my deadline. So that's 3 writing sprints a day, basically, for me. I can do that. In my brain, that is very doable. I can do it. I can sit down and get it done. Hopefully. If nothing, life happens. We're hoping that we're hoping it works out. Let's just say. If you don't have a notebook where you keep up about how many words you can write in a certain sprint time, do it, and then you can get your data and you can see how long it takes you to write and how long it's going to take you to write to see if you will hit your deadline. I know that I can write a Marty K book in actually a little less than a month. That's how long it's took me to write the rest of them. So I know that's something that I can hit. If it's your first book, or if it's a new genre you've not written before, or if it's a new idea or a new series, or if you think you're stuck in a situation, it's not gonna be something that might work in that particular situation. I know I have a horror book that I've got mostly written, but I'm at a point where it can branch off in different directions. So I'm not real sure which way I want to go. So I've had to stop writing the book until I figure out where to go. I've put that book on my release schedule for September. So that gives me time to get it written, get it to the editor, do all of that. But it gives me time to do it, and I'm not stressed and not pressured. I don't know if you've seen Heart Breathing, Sarah Cannon's vlogs that she did over Nano. And she will admit this if you watch her vlogs. She had a book coming out. She put it on pre-order. She didn't get it finished. She lost a pre-order for a year. And it was devastating for her, as it would be when you miss a deadline. That's one of my, I don't do a lot of pre-orders because that's one of my big things. If I do pre-order, it's a finished book. But yeah, that's something definitely to consider before you make your deadlines, before you announce a book release, or before you even think, okay, I'm going to query on this date. I'm going to have this book finished by then. Don't put too much pressure. Make it where you don't put too much pressure on yourself to hit a deadline that you set yourself. Does that make sense? I'm the world's worst. I'm talking to myself. I'm the world's worst for setting deadlines. And then I have to hit. And I make the deadlines. And then I have to race to hit them. It's my own fault. And when it's your own books and it's your own fault, it's annoying. Because there's nobody you can blame it on but yourself. So save yourself the heartache if you can. If you're not finished with the book, with the first draft, try not to announce a release date or anything like that. But there are things you can do while you're writing your rough draft, your first draft. And you can also, there's things you can do if you're going to query your book too. Okay, I totally get that. I can be incredibly frustrating being a pantser type because even though you know what you want for your book, it won't come until it's ready. I am a pantser. I try to be a plotter. I try so hard. I try, especially with my sweet romances. I try. I like my scary books to scare me as I write them. So I write them like I'm watching a movie, which I think is really fun. Then you get to these crossroad sections and it can go either way, and you're like, ah! So it'll hit me eventually. And then I'll write. I have till September, so it's okay. Stephanie said, oh, yeah, I watch your channel all the time. I saw that video. It was heartbreaking. It was so heartbreaking. Yeah, it was whew, heartbreaking. Okay, so something else you can do. Once you know how many days you can write, if you have a calendar in front of you, this would be a perfect thing to do. If you know about how many words you can write, an hour, or how many words you want to get in a day, if your goal is to write 2,000 words a day, 5,000 words a day, 100 words a day, whatever your goal is for the day. Okay, if your goal is to write 1,000 words a day and you're writing a 30,000 word novella, you know it's going to take you 30 days to write the novella. If you have a calendar, you can mark off the days that you know you're not going to write. I'm probably not going to write, even though I just did this example, I'm probably not going to write Wednesday because my daughter has to have a little test run. So I'm probably not going to write Wednesday unless I need some de-stressing, which might be because, stress. So build in days that you know that you're probably not going to write. And that way it takes, if you have a 30, let's say there's 31 days in January, and you need to have 31,000 words written, and you're going to write 1,000 words a day. And there's 11 days that you can't write. That's 11,000 words you're not going to hit. And you're going to have to figure out where to put that in. So you know your first draft is not going to be finished on January 31st unless you've added extra words. So it helps you not to be so hard on yourself when you have realistic expectations and realistic goals with your word counts. Stephanie said, I pantsed my first book and that one's basically done. Oh, I passed my first book and the one that's basically done. I'm going to try and outline this next one. I'm more power to you. I have tried to outline. I do have like points. And I got this. I'm planning a series for next year that's going to come out next year, and it's a 5-book series, and I have made a plan, not a planner, it's just a notebook. What is it? A pen and gear notebook that has all the stuff I want to remember it, because I tend to forget what happened in the first book when I get to the last book, unless I, go back and make notes as I go. So I'm trying, really trying. I think the thing about writing is you always try to go and, I don't know, fix I don't know if it's not broken. I know for me, I'm always trying to learn and always trying to do new things. So yeah, and one of the big things is to give yourself grace days. Give yourself, even, I've got 10 sick days at work. Those are grace days. When you're writing, give yourself grace days. Days that you're not going to feel good. You're not going to want to write. Somebody's going to get sick. You're not going to feel good. Your washing machine's going to tear up. It's going to be a 4-hour wait at the doctor's office when you're just supposed to be a 15-minute wait. There's traffic you can't get through. Something's going to happen, or you just don't feel like it. There's some days when the words won't come out, and they just won't come out. And that's okay. Give yourself grace days. If you have built-in grace days, if you say, okay, I need 30,000 words, 31,000 words written, I need to have it finished by this date, I'm going to have 5 buffer days in there where I'm going to write some days, instead of just stopping at 1,000 words, I'm going to try to get 2,000 words. And that'll cover the buffer days, or days that I'm not going to feel good. There's days that I know I'm not going to feel good. It just happens. So, that is a good way to not get yourself down or to not beat yourself up. If I used to have New Year's goals to write every day, one of my goals used to be to write 1,700 words every day. No matter what, I was going to write 1,700 words every day. And that's fine if that's a goal for you. I felt horrible on the days that I didn't write. Now, I would make up for it. Like, I would, write. I'm a feast or famine kind of a writer. I can either write a lot at one time or nothing. So I would make up the words, the word count, but I would feel horrible that I didn't do it because it was a resolution. Build in some grace days with your writing schedule. Don't think that, in a perfect world, yeah, if you need 31,000 words, you're going to write 1,000 words a day, then it should be finished by January 31st or February, whatever it is, 5th, if you did it today. It should happen. We don't live in a perfect world, and it's more than likely not going to happen exactly like you think it is. And you need some grace days built in for headaches, for whatever happens. Hi, Laura. I'm so glad you're here. You did some dishes. I was productive today. Good job. Feast or famine, that's totally me. Yep, feast or famine. That's me. Okay, and also you need to have a rough estimate of your finish and your word count goal just for your genre. Different word counts are different in different genres, or different word counts of your books are different in different genres. I had to remember what the note was that I wrote. Some genres have longer books, is what I'm trying to say. Middle grade is usually somewhere around 30,000 words. Fantasy is usually longer, 100,000 each words. One of my friends, all of her books are 100,000 words long. She puts out about 2 or 3 books a year. My books are generally between 60 and 75,000 words, sometimes shorter, sometimes 55. It just kind of depends. Those are my horror books, or my young adult and adult horror books. It just depends on your genre and what you need for that particular book. All right, Jen, I'm about to go teach some Ariel, but want to stop by and say hi. Give the video a thumbs up. I can't wait to watch the replay. Thank you for swinging by with Ariel. Have fun at Ariel. That looks so cool. People that can do that, that's cool. Okay, let's say you have your rough draft finished and you have all of that finished and you want to talk about, or you want to figure out your release schedule. These are some things to consider so you can plan out your release schedule. It takes time to edit, and I know you know that. Sometimes it takes not very long to edit. Sometimes it takes a long time to edit. My very first book, I had to rewrite the entire book. I rewrote it 4 times. And it went through full edits 19 times. So, things like that happen. If I had said, yeah, I'm finished with this book and I'm going to put it out in 4 months, it would not have happened, and that would have been bad. So, you need to think about, and that was just, the 4 rewrites was just my rewrites before I even started querying, before I even did any of that. So, and editing is different. I don't know if every book is so different to edit. So going back and trying to figure out when you're going to do your editing, that can be difficult too when you have a release date. So, and it also, one of the big things is the editing availability, the availability of your editor. Editors get booked very quickly. So if you have an editor that you want to use, if you have an editor that you're thinking about using, if you have an editor that you always use, I have an editor that I always use on all my books. And I always message her before when I'm thinking of a release date, and I email her for her availability. And I'll say, can you edit this book this week? She'll say yes or no. If it's yes, I have to hit it on that week so she can get it in. So that's why I call it the point of no return. This Sunday is my point of no return with my Marty K book. It has to be ready to go to her this Sunday. Yeah. Also, besides just the editor that you have to have lined up, you have to have the cover designer booked. You have to check their availability unless you do pre-mades or something like that. Now that's not as strict, I guess. Not strict. A deterrent, I would suppose, because edits take so much longer unless your cover designer has a long waiting list, and some of them do. Some of them you have to book 6 months, a year, 18 months in advance of your book coming out, or when you think your book's going to come out. That is something that you can go ahead and work on buying, work on setting up as a cover, because you don't have to have your book written before you get the cover design. If you know you're putting your book out, if you know you're self-publishing it, I wouldn't wait to get a cover or to search out a cover designer, because they get backed up so quickly. Also, there are such things as bad release days, and that's just days that aren't really as good to release books on. I've tried different days of the week to release books on. I know the trade publishers, their release day is always on Tuesday. I've tried Sunday. I've had some success with Sundays. Sometimes some people swear by putting books out on holidays. Some people think it's a bad thing. Lots of books come out on Christmas Day. It depends on your genre. It depends on the overcrowding of books that's going to come out that day. Think of the holiday movie schedule, or not the holiday movie schedule, the yearly movie schedule. You know, in January, they usually put out different types of movies than they do in May. May is usually, they're big blockbuster movies, and then they have different, September and October is usually the scary movies, and June is like the beachy, summery movies. It doesn't have to be that way, but there are certain trends. Certain books are typically released in different or certain months. Like January has a lot of winter books, and February has a lot of romance books, and March kind of has everything. I don't know if March has a certain genre. My scary books do good in March, so March is good if you write scary. I'll tell you that. April has a lot of summer books, and May has a lot of summer books, and June has a lot of beach books and ride books, and July. If books come out in July, it's whatever genre. It's kind of like March. There's not really a corner on that market. August usually has a lot of fall books. September usually has a lot of fall books, and Halloween books. I like to put my books out the month before the typical month would be. Like if I put out, now I put out scary books all year, but I don't put them out in October, because then you don't have as long of time people wanting a scary book. So I put one out in September. I usually put out a book in September, or a scary book in September every year. And then November and December is usually holiday books. So it can vary. That's not like a hard, fast rule or anything. Like Alexa Dunn, her thriller comes out in May, and Heartless came out in January, and Fake Nora is coming out in March, and it's not a hard and fast rule, but those are just the typical release months. And then there's dead months where there's not the traditional publishing industry don't put a lot of books out during certain months. Usually it's June and July. Summer months, a lot of books don't come out. That could work to your advantage, though, if you're self-publishing and there's not a lot of trade books put out. If you put one of your indie books out, it could get some traction that way. Think about your schedule and your life when you're planning your release schedule. I have 4 really bad months that I always end up putting a book out in one of these months. But they're really bad, and I don't need to put them out in these months. I'm a teacher during the day, and 4 months out of the year are my absolute busiest times at work. It's April, May, August, and September. I always put a book out in September. September's not as bad as August. August, if I can help it, I don't put any books out in August or April. If I can help it. I have put them out in April. But if I can help it, and I plan to release it, so you think I can help it, but go with me. Then I try not to put books out those months because I'm super busy at work. I'm super stressed at work, and I don't want to have extra stress added to the already stress of book release. So Laura says I need to schedule out my horror flash fiction so I can compile them together in an anthology by the end of the year. I love horror. Level up my writing skills. That sounds cool. I love flash fiction too. The first thing I ever had published was a 100-word story. I can't remember the story now, but I was so excited when it got accepted. Oh, I loved it. It was so exciting. Just getting that acceptance letter was so cool. Oh, I can't wait for that to come out. That'll be cool. Okay, so let me get some water. Usually I'm used to talking for a long time, but I've not been in school for 2 weeks. So my voice is getting a little messed up. Okay, so now if you're ready to ponder and brainstorm your release schedule and your writing schedule, we can go ahead and get started on that. If you want to open up the link that's in the description, which is the release timeline. One thing I did want to say is one good thing to do, especially if you're going to self-publish while you're writing your first draft, is to save money while you're doing your first draft, so you have enough to pay everyone and you don't have to wait for that part of it to get enough money to put your book out. That once your first draft is finished, your second draft is finished, your third draft is finished, whenever you feel like you are ready to send it to a content editor, that you can go ahead and schedule a content editor and pay the content editor, and you don't have to wait for that to happen, because if you have to wait for that to happen, then that will mess with your timeline, and it will mess when you will get to put a book out. One thing you can't control, I'm having this issue right now on my release schedules, is I have a book that I queried I queried a bunch of agents with it. And there's one that there's one that has a full. And I've not expected to hear back from her yet, but I've not heard back from her yet. So that book is, in my mind, tentatively scheduled to come out, if she doesn't accept it or if I sign with her, in April. It's tentatively on my release schedule. If you are querying, of course, you can't control that release schedule. That has nothing to do with you. What you can control is when you query, if you sign the contract, you can control asking before you sign the contract, when is this book planning on coming out? You can, and even that might get pushed back. You can control writing your next book. That's pretty much all you can control in that situation. So you can make a writing schedule. If you sign a book contract and they say, okay, we're going to put this book out this year, and you want to have another book put out the next year by that same publisher, or you're thinking about it, or you might have an option clause or whatever it might be, you need to go back and start writing the next book, so that book will be ready so it can come out in a year, or it can come out in 9 months, or whatever it is, and you don't have to wait 2 years for it to come out. So writing as a career is always writing more. It's always writing the next book. It's marketing what you already have, but it's writing the next book. It's coming up with the next idea. It's continually moving forward, which is my 2021 word. Continually moving forward with as few hiccups, and there's a lot along the way as you can get. So there's a lot of stuff you can control if you're doing traditional publishing, but you can control your writing schedule for your next book. If your publisher says, hey, we're going to open for queries, and they're going to open in 3 months, then you have a chance to get that book out there to them to see if they want to publish it or put it on their next schedule. That's what I did for Fake Nora, actually. My publisher that did Trinity Row and what Rachel did, they were opening up their schedule for this year, and it was getting full. And I didn't have Fake Nora totally finished yet, but I was almost finished with it. Like 5,000 words or something. It was wasn't very much. And so I messaged them and I was like, hey, I have this story. This is what it's about. It's almost finished. They said, send it over. I got it finished very quickly. I sent it over. They put it on the schedule. If I had not went ahead and written that book, it wouldn't have been on the schedule. So that's a long way of saying the exact same thing. So save your money while you're writing, especially if you're planning on self-publishing. If you're querying and if you get a traditional deal, keep writing the next book. So you'll be ready to send it to either them or self-publish it or whatever you need to do. Okay, so you are at the mercy of the editor's timeline and your cover designer's timeline. Whenever they are able to get to you is when they get to you. Unless you are okay going with another editor or another cover designer. That's just sad. I mean, it's not sadly. It's what it is. It's not sadly. It is what it is. So, yeah. It's good to have an estimated date on when these things will happen, or when you think things are going to get finished. Laura says, my first one is getting published this year in an anthology. Need to keep submitting to more publications. Oh, cool. I love meeting anthologies, especially when they accept it. Some of them don't. Which anthology is it in? If you don't mind saying. If you don't want to say, you don't have to. Or if it's a big cover reveal thing later, or a big announcement reveal later, you can do that then. Okay, so if you are on the release timeline sheet that I have for you, it's not as pretty as a lot of people make theirs, but you know, it's functional. And there's a lot of these you can find in different places on different websites. This is just the basic information that I use. This is actually something I use. I just have it written in a notebook. I write it down actually I put it in my planners for every book that I'm going to release. I have this written down. So this is the release timeline. This is an estimated thing of when you think it's going to happen and then it actually happens. So you have your name of your project. When your first draft is completed, I wouldn't try to schedule out a lot unless you have written a lot of books without having the first draft completed before you schedule the rest of this, unless it's the cover design. You could probably get away with that. Beta readers due date. Actually, I'm going to go to, let's see, Shiver Anthology, edited by Nico Bell. I had a book one time on radish, and it was named Shiver. Or about cold weather. Ooh, that is horrible. Cold weather. Now, I'll admit, I'd much rather be cold than hot. That is a cool concept. When is it coming out? Do you know? Okay, here we go. This is what I wanted to show you. Okay, this is what we're working on. So, if we have the beta readers due date, I don't use beta readers, but if you do, you need to have a set date where all of their opinions and information needs to be turned in. So you're not working on edits, and then somebody sends you something else, and you're like, oh no, and then you've wasted all that time. Then you need to have the content editor estimated delivery date, and then the content editor actual delivery date, and then your edits estimated time. You need to know if you're wanting just a content editor, which is somebody that makes sure the story is cohesive, doesn't have plot holes, if there's things you can add, things you need to take away. Line edits are more grammar oriented, and then proof edits are to make sure that everything is put together. There's no typos, there's no plot holes. It's everything. It's the very, very, very last edit. It's the last edit, the last time you will get to see your book, unless you're me, and then you do one more edit and pass. So you also need to figure out if you want to have your content editor, your line editor, and your proof editor be the same person. Some people do, some people don't. I do. Actually, I have one editor that does my content and line edits, and then I have a proofreader that does my proofs, and then I do a one last edit and pass. That's something you need to figure out before you get started. If you're scheduling different people, scheduling's difficult, y'all. If you're scheduling different people, you of course have to have your content editor first, and then your line editor, and then your proof editor. And if their timelines are all different, then it's hard to get everything in line and turned in when you need them to be turned in. And if you're having a content edit and there needs to be a major revision, and your line edits are supposed to be to your line editor in 2 weeks, that's not possible. It is possible, but you'll not sleep in those 2 weeks. So I like to have my content editor and my line editor be the same person. Some people don't, because that way they can catch different issues. That's completely up to you, and it's completely up to when you want to schedule things. Some people, I can see the benefit, even though it's so hard to schedule editors, I can almost see the benefit in getting a content editor, finishing up that edit, and then hiring a line editor, or at least waiting until you're almost finished with that content edit before you hire a line editor. I mean, you can talk to them beforehand, see what their waiting list is like, see if you need to, give them some extra time or just wait a little bit. That's what I would do, though. And then you have proof edits, estimated delivery time, proof edits actual delivery time, and my proof edits estimated time of when you think you'll be done with it. Then you have one last edit and pass. One last edit and pass. I always do this in all my books. I'll put the book, my computer Word will read it back to me. So I always have it read back to me, because if you know what you're trying to say when you're writing it. And there's so many times I've put though, and I meant to put to, because I mean, you know, or you skip words and you don't hear it or you don't see it when you're editing it. But if somebody or something reads it back to you, you hear it. So I always give myself some time to get that in, that last edit and pass in so I can hear it. So I know what I've messed up on or if something needs to be changed. Then you have the cover designer estimated delivery date. You can most definitely do this before you even get finished with the first draft if you're going to go tradition or independently publish. If you're going to self-publish, go ahead and if you want to hire the cover designer, go ahead and do that. Get on their schedule at the very least. They may not do your cover right then, but at least you would be on their schedule. And then last but most certainly not least, formatting estimated delivery date and formatting actual delivery date. So my formatter, she only has time to format on the weekends. So let me get my calendar. I have a book that's coming out the 26th. I have to have it to her by the 23rd, no later than the 23rd, because if I don't, she will not get around to formatting it before it comes out on the 26th. I know that because I've had relationships. I've built relationships with her. She's formatted, she's formatted all of my self-published books. She, I know her schedule. She knows my schedule. I know she can only do it on the weekends. So that's something that you need to talk to your formatter. If you have a formatter about when they can do it, when's the last day they can do it, when's their point of no return, things like that. Very, very much important to know. So, all right. Let's see. Oh, sorry, I know this is a planning scheduling video, but I'm curious. I saw you got horror and romance. What do you read? I read both, actually. I just finished this one this morning, the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, which is a horror novel, and it's so good. I can't get my thoughts wrapped around it. I will eventually, and I'll write a review, and I might talk about it on the channel. But yeah. I read both. One of my favorite writers, her name is Nadine Millard, and she is an indie author. Well, she's a hybrid author like me. She writes Regencies, and I love her books. They are so good. I tried to write Regency a few times, and not as good as her. I might try again. But yeah, I read it all. I read it all. That's a good question. Thank you. January 11th, 2021 is the release. That is like next week. That is next Monday. Oh my goodness. That's exciting. That is not long. Woo. Congratulations. All right, guys, we have about 13 minutes. I talked for 47 minutes. Woo. Do you have do you have any questions about setting up your writing schedule or setting up your release schedule? I know it is a lot. It's a lot to consider. It's a lot of moving parts. And honestly, when I was sitting and talking about this with you, I thought, oh my gosh, it's a wonder books get published. There are so many moving parts. And so many things have to align in so many different ways. And even if you say, I'm going to have a book that comes out, I don't know, March 2nd. So many things, especially if you're self-publishing, have to be just aligned for that to happen. It's so cool. It's publishing is an amazing thing, and I love it so much. I love the puzzle of putting together a book release, and I love the excitement and just writing different worlds. So All right, does anybody have any questions? I don't know what's worse, if you do or if you don't. You did a really, really good job. Or I just totally missed the point of all this. It could go either way. But I do want to thank you so much for being on here today and talking, and I hope you learned something. I hope that anything that I said might help you with your release schedule or your writing schedule. Give yourself, I think the big thing is to give yourself some grace. Don't overplan yourself. I have a problem with that too, even now. Don't overplan yourself. So thank you for being here. Stephanie, how far in advance do you schedule your releases? I usually do. I have a yearly production schedule, and I usually make it in October or November of the year before. So I made 2021's production schedule last November. But I already had Fake Nora coming out with a publisher. So I knew that was happening. So yeah, that's when I make my schedule. So I plan about, well, some months is a year in advance. Some of it's further out than that. But since I put out my scary books, usually toward the end of the year, I can do that a little differently. So yeah, I plan a year at a time. I don't try to plan too more far out than that, because I don't know what I'm gonna put out. How far do y'all plan out your releases? I have a friend that she has her next 3 years planned out. I'm like, I would love to, but I don't. I do have next year planned out. So I guess I have 2 years in. I'm gonna put the series I was talking about that's in this one. This is a 5-book series, and it's all coming out next year, 2022. So I do have that. So my questions were more so on how to. I've been watching videos of people self-publishing, and it seems like a long, drawn-out process. You could easily mess up with a click of a wrong. I mean, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's not easy, and it's not a backup to. I wouldn't self-publish a book just because it didn't get picked up by a traditional publisher. I wouldn't. There's so much that goes into self-publishing. It's a skill in and of itself. It's a whole lot of things that you have to learn to even get a book published. If you want to know how to get it put up on KDP, I do have videos that show that. I uploaded my last series, and I showed step by step how to upload on KDP. If you want to see that, it's somewhere on my channel. It's recently, I think September, I think somewhere in there. But it is. It can be long and drawn out. Once you at the beginning, it can be long and drawn out. Once you have your team, if you use the same editors, you know their schedule. You can say, hey, put me down for this time, build a relationship. Same with your cover designer. Once you get into it, it becomes a habit. If you want to work with the same people, if you do the same release schedule, I have a friend that all of her releases, she follows the same pattern. She does title reveal, cover reveal, um, book trailer, no, arcs, book trailer, publication. Like, she has it planned out because she's done it for so long. She's tweaked things now and then, but she's done it for so long. So, yeah, I mean, it is long and it is drawn out, especially at the beginning. But it gets, I don't know if it gets easier. It gets more fine tuned. You know what you're looking for later on. I know what works for me. I know I can write 500 words in 15 minutes. I know I can write a Marty K book in a month, usually quicker than that. I know I can, if I'm pushing it, I can write a scary book in a month and a half. Like, I know what I can do. I know my cover designer, I can message her up and be like, hey, when's your next available spot? I know I have to have my formatter on weekends. I know I have to contact my editor before, different things happen. I know because I built those relationships. So the more you get into it, the easier it is. But at the same time, things change and things grow and you learn what you didn't know. Then there's still some stuff that you have to learn. I'm still learning. That's why I have a hard time doing workshops, because I'm like, I'm still learning. I put over 30 books, it's close to 40 books out. And I feel like I'm still learning. I feel like that I don't know if I can give you advice because I'm still learning. So yeah, that's just me though. Stephanie, I had planned my releases this year, but I can't think farther than that. I understand. Who knows what will become of this. I have plans for it. Now, these plans will change or could change depending on if I sign with an agent. Always up in the air. So, yeah, I'm the same way. One of my favorite things is when I get a new planner and I sit down and I make a release plan, a production schedule. It's my absolute favorite thing. I love doing it. I love seeing what books I have coming out and what ideas I have coming out and brainstorm like marketing things. I think it's really fun. Yes. All right. Any last questions? I really sincerely hope that this has been informative. If you have any more questions ever, or if there's like a certain thing you want me to make a YouTube video on, leave a comment and I will leave a video or try to make a video about it. If I don't know the answer, I will try to find the answer or lead you to the direction of a person that might know the answer. So, yeah, be absolutely sure to do that because I want to answer any questions you have. Self-publishing or any publishing or just publishing in general is so big and so broad. I have a 4-part series on how to publish a book. If you want to check that out, let me see if I can find it real quick, and I'll try to leave a link. Let me see. Hard. That's not it. No. Well, I had a series. I did find this one, How to Publish Step by Step. This is on KDP. There's one. That show up. That's a ugly thing, isn't it? My goodness. You're very welcome. I wish I could find the one I was leaving for. That would have been really nice if I could have found it. That's not what I wanted to do. When you're trying to find something, you can never find it, and then I'll come in here tomorrow and be like, yeah, There it is. Oh, here it is. Found it. Okay. That's not what I wanted. This is how to go from an idea to published. Pre-writing, writing, editing, publishing, pros and cons of traditional publishing and indie publishing. So let me put this in here. I don't even know if that'll work. I hope it does. If it don't, I'll put it in the description. Okay, and I know there's so many other videos out that's probably way better. But I tried. I tried. All right, guys, it is almost 6 o'clock. Thank you. It is 6 o'clock my time. Thank you so much for being here. I really, truly, truly appreciate it. I hope you learned something. I had a great time talking to you. I hope you get your writing schedule and your production schedule and release schedule figured out. I know it's a lot to take in. It's a lot to think about. And if you're like me, you think you have it finished or worked out, and then you have an idea and you're like, that's part of writing. It's what comes with it. All right. I have a cover reveal tomorrow for Fake Nora, which is my middle grade horror book. I've already filmed it. I'm so excited. I've been trying. It's right here. I could literally put the book in front of the camera, but I can't. Because the cover reveal is tomorrow. Get back here so you can see it. It's so pretty. It's been sitting on my desk because I can't put it on my shelf, but I'll be able to put it on my shelf starting tomorrow. I'm excited. So yeah, I'll see y'all later. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you to Jennifer, from the Right Mama for doing this Kickstarter, creative Kickstart count. I cannot talk. Creative Kickstart count for the week. It has been so much fun, and I'm so glad that you are here. All righty. Have a good night. Bye.